Well, we have updates from Nick Sirianni on the Eagles' injury report and why Sidney Brown and DeAndre Swift, they might actually be playing a lot more than you would expect tomorrow against the Vikings. Justin Jefferson is ready for his revenge game, excited to take on Darius Slay. And the Eagles' front four, will pressure be harder to get against the Vikings than you'd think? I'm Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to Thomas Mott Show on a Wednesday. Games tomorrow. We have fresh injury updates to go ahead and start with. First, though, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, myself, Josh Davis, we're going to do the Wednesday Link Live. Join us for the best live show of the week, talking about the Eagles versus the Vikings and a whole lot more. The Nick Sirianni had a press conference today, although he didn't really want to talk about the injuries, and you could tell the Eagle beat writers wanted to ask him, but for some reason they weren't going to say it. Listen to this.
Morning, Nick. Is there any update in regards to Reed Blakenship and Kenneth Gainwell and their availability for Thursday?
No. We'll get that information to you here in a little bit.
So I guess they don't officially say the day before what's going to happen. They're going to release the final injury report this afternoon, but weird that Sirianni would just kind of be like, hey, you know, we don't talk about that, move on. Jeff McLane, though, does have our back, and he says he, of course, declined to talk about the injuries, but Reed Blakenship and Kenny Gainwell are trending towards not being ready from what I'm hearing. James Bradbury is still in concussion protocol. Fletcher Cox should be ready. Reports released this afternoon. So be sure to follow me on Twitter for the latest reports when they release later on today. But it is interesting, as we said yesterday, no Blakenship and no Kenny Gainwell. Does that mean Sidney Brown is finally going to get some actual reps in week 2 already for the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, the answer is probably not. I think Philadelphia is going to go with a combination of Terrell Edmunds and Justin Evans just to have the veteran presence out there. The Eagles are going against a very potent passing attack with Justin Jefferson. Obviously, you'll talk more about him in a second. And they might want to have somebody who might not make those rookie mental errors out there, at least for the start of the game. Now, if the Eagles were to get a lead, or if Terrell Edmunds or Justin Evans were going to struggle a little bit, then maybe Sidney Brown could go ahead and be elevated. But there's been no indication that the Eagles are ready to give the rookie safety out of Illinois a chance. And while most of us, including you and me, would love to see Sidney Brown out there, and we think that, at least in the preseason, there were a lot of good in terms of plays, overall movement, speed, all fantastic stuff from Sidney Brown. It doesn't seem like Philadelphia is ready to say, hey, you are the actual starter filling in for Reed Blakenship, and so, well, I disagree, and I think you guys would agree that you'd like to see him out there. It's probably going to be the combination of Terrell Edmunds and Justin Evans. Would you guys want Sidney Brown to play? Let me know down below in the comments section right now. And when it comes to Kenny Gainwell not playing, I think it actually sets up for a very interesting, I'd say, dilemma for Philadelphia. They hardly used DeAndre Swift in week 1, and Eagle fans are wondering, hey, are you actually going to use him? What about Rashaad Penny? Well, Philadelphia is kind of forced to use DeAndre Swift and Rashaad Penny as well. When asked about it today, Nick Sirianni said this.
Yeah, I see him. I think he can play both of those roles. No question about it. And that's how and that's the roles. He'll be in that role sometimes where he carries the load for the game, and he'll be in the role sometimes like he was in last game. Again, we don't ever want to come out with him only having those many touches. It was just kind of how the flow went in the game, we had things called for him. But sometimes the ball doesn't go to him in a certain way.
So no word if Rashaad Penny is actually going to be elevated, but he did admit, hey, I guess DeAndre Swift can carry the load and be a #1 feature back for an entire game, but will they actually use him? I'm very curious to see if they slide Boston Scott to give him more carries. Philadelphia historically has done this. They, for whatever reason, when it comes to the running back spot, like their veterans. They like to give the veterans the touches and not the young people or the rookies or the people that haven't been in Philadelphia very long. Why they do that, I don't know. Seniority is an interesting part of a team, I guess, but you also like merit and meritocracy of the National Football League. If it was me, I would give Rashaad Penny a bunch of carries, I'd give DeAndre Swift a bunch of carries, and I'd work in Boston Scott when needed, although we would all agree that we think Penny and Swift should at least be a little bit better than Boston Scott, right? Either way, I'm curious where you guys are at in terms of total carries. I'm going to start DeAndre Swift in one of my fantasy football leagues. I think Philadelphia's going to use him, but if they don't, and maybe it's Rashaad Penny, could make for a very interesting next couple of days if Philadelphia struggles running the football. Now, speaking of Rashaad Penny, if he is active on Thursday night, which he most likely will, there's an incredible DraftKings promo going on right now where you bet $5, get $200. If you put $10 and Rashaad Penny scoring 2 or more touchdowns, that's it, 2 or more touchdowns in any way possible, you'd win $1,000. A pretty good opportunity to win some money here on a bet that, hey, might not hit, you lose $10. If it hits, you get $1,000. If you don't have a DraftKings account yet, you can sign up using my link down below, and not only, of course, get the $200 in free bets, but also help the channel out, because these links go a long way in helping out the channel. It's down below, top thing in the description box right now. Now, Justin Jefferson is one of the best wide receivers, not the best wide receiver in the National Football League. Had an incredible week 1, despite the fact that his team lost, and he was very frustrated afterwards on the sideline. But he's going up against Darius Slay, who basically a year ago today played against Darius Slay, or played against Justin Jefferson, Jefferson and locked him down. I mean, it was historical how great he was against Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson remembers that, was asked about it, and seems very excited to get back on the field and maybe get some revenge on Big Play Slay. Here's what he said, quote, "It's always going to be a great battle with the top corners in the league. I'm always excited to have those type of matchups, but definitely we have some things we've got to get back at them on. Having that loss last year, not having those plays we wanted last year, there's definitely some tension going into that game," end quote. And so you're going to get the best version of Justin Jefferson, which I think is good. The Eagles secondary looked pretty darn bad against Mac Jones and that passing attack, which is not a very good Patriot passing attack, albeit except for, a couple of decent tight ends, right? I mean, overall, this is a much harder, I'd say, job for the Philadelphia safeties than it was in week 1. And the Philadelphia corners than it was in week 1. Maybe you have James Bradbury, maybe you don't. Maybe you start Sidney Brown, maybe it's Terrell Edmonds. Who knows? Either way, a great early test for Philadelphia that I hope they can maybe silence some of the critics from week 1 by shutting down the Vikings again. Not like the Vikings dominated in week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost. And while Jefferson played very well, it seems like Philadelphia could do something similar in terms of trying to take away Jefferson, but waiting for somebody else on that Viking passing attack, or the Viking rushing attack for that matter, to go ahead and beat them. Now, Nick Sirianni was asked about the Vikings, playing the Eagles last year. Can you use some of that film? And here's what he said.
You look at the personnel that is consistent. So you're always going to look at the personnel, but schemes are obviously very different. And so you know where Coach, like I said, a ton of respect for Coach Flores, and then you look at where he's been. You look at obviously the games that he's coached for Minnesota, which hasn't been many, as we know, where he's been, Miami, and then also where his roots are from New England. So you look at all those things, and you're trying to get your answers that way as much as you possibly can. So yeah, there's been a lot of, we've watched a lot of tape in these 3 days from, and then obviously before these 3 days too, when we were preparing, from different teams.
It does seem like you can take some of the things that worked last season, but also know the Vikings are watching that tape as well, and maybe come up with a new game plan. Again, a really good test for Sean Desai to hopefully showcase his ability to be flexible, have a better overall attack, and if things aren't working by halftime, change some things around and make sure Philadelphia's defense gets off the football field a lot more. Now, one area where I think Philadelphia hopefully can start to expose the Minnesota Vikings is their offensive versus defensive line matchup, and the fact that the Eagles' front four were really, really, really good in that opener against the New England Patriots. Now, they only had a couple of quarterback hits and a couple of sacks, especially there towards the end, but when you actually put on the film, and I think it was a great job done by the Philadelphia Eagles official YouTube account, we're showing some of that footage right now of their All-22 review, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams were some of the best graded pass rushers and really best graded defensive tackles in the entire National Football League, especially Carter, who we talked about yesterday, was fantastic, but Davis and Milton Williams were, I think, a little bit under the radar and how impressive they were. Now, we already mentioned the Vikings have a couple of offensive line issues. However, it is worth noting, even with those issues, the statistics from Pro Football Focus show that the Vikings were the fourth best football team in terms of what happens with each team's dropbacks. And you see that link up on your screen right now. On 90% of all their snaps, they hit their target in terms of the throws. The rest of the time, 2% were scrambles, 2% were throwaways, 2% were sacks, and 2% were batted down or broken incomplete passes. That was, again, fourth best, only behind Green Bay, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Los Angeles Rams. Philadelphia, way, way down at the bottom, where they only had 74% of their plays go to the targeted receiver and actually, make a completion and go for yardages. So Philadelphia needs to get a lot more, and I should say a similar amount, but hopefully more this game from the front four than they did against the Patriots in order to hopefully get a little bit more pressure for Kirk Cousins, passing attack, who can, shred you if he sits back there and has a clean pocket and has open receivers to throw to. But as we saw last year, if you get pressure on Kirk Cousins, he will make bad decisions, he will throw interceptions, and that's where the Eagles secondary hopefully can take advantage of that like they did early against Mac Jones, maybe house one, maybe get a couple of turnovers, and turn this game on its head. Now, I'm wondering if you guys are feeling confident. Are you a little bit nervous? Where are you at in the Vikings game? I was talking to my mom, who's a diehard Eagle fan, yesterday, and she was a little bit nervous. She said, hey, we got to play a lot better here in week 2 than we did in week 1, and I totally agree. I'm just hopeful that week 1 was the true preseason, was a true outlier, and that the week 2 Eagles, the Eagles that show up tomorrow night, are actually going to be more to what we saw in 2022, where they ran the football a lot better, they had a lot more deep shots, they had a lot more open receivers, and they spread the football around a lot better than they did in week 1. Now, either way, we're going to be live tomorrow night, of course, during the game, during our play-by-play, quarter-by-quarter live stream, myself and Josh Davis. Make sure you guys subscribe for that, hit the notification bell, and then get ready for giveaways again, taking your questions, and hopefully the best Eagles game and live stream performance that's actually on the platform. If you guys appreciate that, thumbs up. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it's a lot of fun to mute the TV, listen to myself and Josh, and interact in the comments section as well. Plenty more stuff happening in the next couple of days and weeks. A lot of new shorts happening. If you have not seen any of these shorts, go check out them out on the channel, and also get ready for our Wednesday Link Live tonight, 7 p.m. Myself and Josh Davis. It is always a bunch of fun. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.